Hey guys, you're watching Firewood for Life. We're out in the pole barn today, and I'm going to show you how to build a miter saw stand between these two workbenches. So stick around, it's an easy build, and I'll show you how. Alright, so if you've been following the channel, on our last video we built this workbench, which is an awesome build. Check it out if you haven't watched it yet. I built this one multiple years ago. I loved it so much that I built another one. And what it did though is it created this void, the way that I have it set up in our pole barn, to where it's unusable space. So I did the measurements, and if I run, we've had a bunch of these just old 2x4 scraps laying around, probably got 20 of them or so. And then if I attach them to the base here of the workbenches and then run a 2x4 top, now I get like a 2x6 rate would be a lot better, but we've got so many I'm just going to use them up. The dimensions work out perfectly that it'll be nice and level when I put the miter saw, the chop saw, on top of this bench here, that we can run nice long pieces of wood across the top, so we're not doing the balancing act or on our hands and knees cutting all the time. So it's basically going to serve as just like one you buy out of the store, but it's permanent. And then on the bottom, if we run some more of these bases, I'll just take some of this scrap plywood that we have, and then we can build a shelf on the bottom. So in theory, folks, it's going to work out great. And it's going to use simple tools just like I love to do. I know you've watched a lot of videos to where there's some pretty elaborate, maybe folding miter saw benches, but you know, this is going to be simple. So stick around, let's get building. All right, so what I did is I cut 4 2x4s. These ones are 46.5 inches long, but depending on the width of your benches, yours are going to be a little bit different. But just using 3.5-inch outdoor screws, just attach the 4 2x4s. So we'll go one here, and then on the bottom for your shelf. And then this will serve as the tabletop for your miter saw bench, and then this will serve as the base for your storage area. Just use 2 screws on each side. Really easy to do. All right, just to give you a little bit closer look. So these are the braces that I secured to the bottom. I put them on the inside of the uprights for the workbench. That way, you know, they're just not so noticeable. And then what I did, it's a little bit of a tight squeeze when you get in here to secure them, so you got to be a little bit of a contortionist, but it worked out pretty well. And then I had these 2 pieces. These are just 3/4-inch pieces of plywood. And then I just basically cut them to fit. I had to notch it out a little bit here in the back, but and then just secure this. These are what, 1 5/8-inch construction screws. I'm going to pre-drill them. I'll just make it flush up to the front here. I am going to pre-drill them just so I don't split the plywood. And then just, I don't know, a couple screws on each side. You don't need a bunch of them, it's just downward pressure. And then that way you will have your base all done. Okay, so the storage base shelf on the bottom there is done. And for the top of the miter saw stand, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run it the same depth as my workbench tabletop. That way it's all one depth. I don't have to worry about running into a corner or anything when I'm working. So this particular one is 28 3/4 wide here. So I'm just going to cut up a handful of 2x4s on my miter saw to the same depth here and secure them across the top, and that should complete the project. And hopefully this is the last time I'm on my hands and knees running the chop saw. All right, so I cut up the 2x4s to make the top. It took 11 2x4s. Like I said, if you have bigger lumber, it'd probably work better, but we did have these scraps, so why not use them up? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pre-drill them into the top of the base. And then I'm going to use 2.5-inch outdoor screws just to attach them. Use 2 per board on each end, so I guess 4 screws per board. That way they don't rock and they're nice and sturdy. and that should complete the build. Well, there you have it. You guys are done. It actually turned out really well, and thank goodness the measurements were correct, and it fits perfectly level across the top of my workbenches. And not only do we have a nice convenient spot so that I no longer have to be on my hands and knees when using the chop saw, but we also have some really nice storage space down below. And depending on your guys' build, you can run a shop vac off the back of your saw and even store the canister right on the shelf there to make it a dust-free application. So turned out great. Hope you guys liked it. It was really easy. Probably take you about an hour with this scenario, but I love it and I'm really happy with it. So as always, thanks for joining. If you guys like this stuff, do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you next time.